We are the Lab Doctors. I'm Amanda.
I'm Dorothy.
And I'm Zhao Yong.
We are biomedical researchers who realized we still have a lot to learn about science.
So why not join us on this quest?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. On this Today in Science episode, we'll be covering a range of topics that you may find interesting. So we first start off talking about intermittent fasting and our updates 1 month on. And then we go into caloric restriction and its effect on cancer treatment. Then we move on to more lighthearted things on holding hands and its effect on our health. And finally, we'll talk about solar panels being installed in Singapore.
Yeah, so I think it has been a month since we started our intermittent fasting thing. And I guess we want to give a brief update on where we are so far.
In case you're curious.
Yeah. And whether or not you want to take up intermittent fasting, I guess. Amanda, take it away.
Sure. Okay, so for my intermittent fasting, I did the 16-8. So I was going to say eat for 16 hours. Oh, that would be the dream. Fast for 8 hours and then...
Fast for 16
hours.
hours.
Oh my God. That's what my brain wants to do. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so fast for 16 hours and then only eat within the 8-hour window.
Yeah.
So actually the first 2 weeks, I lost about 1 kg. And then I think it's because I skipped breakfast and I didn't make up for it. That's it's just calorie intake versus my basal metabolic rate. So by the halfway point, so the 3rd week onwards, I think I was a bit complacent and I just ate as much as I wanted and I didn't care. And now I'm back to my original weight. So I don't know.
I think it might just mean that you are already kind of more or less at your optimal weight, you know, you're set that
These are just
baseline.
fluctuations, maybe?
That's what I think also. And also it's just where my body operates the best in. So actually, I think if I'm lighter, I will feel a bit weaker when I'm exercising and working out and stuff. But then if I'm heavier, I will feel more lethargic and like draggy. I think this is actually maybe the set weight. So that's why I'm just going back to the normal.
You're already optimized.
I hope so.
Amanda.
I think you are.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I also did 16-8 and I lost 2 kg in 1 month, which was crazy.
Without anything extra.
Yeah, really without anything extra. And in fact...
Well, you did swim.
Oh yeah, I did swim more, so maybe that's why I also lost weight. But I purposely ate breakfast as my tea, usually. So it's not as if I'm cutting down on calories. The only other additional thing that I did was probably swim. But honestly, nothing much. And 2 kg loss in 1 month is really quite crazy.
Are you still at that 2 kg loss weight?
Yeah.
So it didn't gain back.
So you were not optimal.
Yeah. I was probably a bit overweight. But like,
overweight in quotations.
Yeah, relative to me.
Your normal,
relative to me. Yeah.
So another thing, I mean, I was talking about it in the episode. If you haven't listened to it, you should totally check it out because Viz, our friend, was very, very good in it.
Yeah.
But I was saying that the main reason why I wanted to do it was mental alertness.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm not sure if it's placebo effect or for reals, but I felt very good in the morning. So I don't really think about breakfast now because I started a new experiment where I'm very busy in the morning.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that helped me through the month.
Yeah.
But the only thing is the food coma after lunch was horrendous.
I have to say it's really a bit...
And I think
I always get food coma though.
No, but this is a whole new level of food coma.
Oh my goodness. During this 1 month, I would feel fine I would feel very alert in the morning. I would feel very like mental acuity at its highest, which I don't really feel in the morning. Usually, as in I'm a morning person. Yeah, I know, but oh my goodness, everything was so clear. I don't know if it's adrenaline from starting something new or really intermittent fasting, but the food comas after lunch were worse than my usual food coma after lunch.
I have to agree. Mine definitely, but I don't know if it's herd mentality for me. When you told me you felt that it was worse, then I was like, oh yeah, I feel that it's worse too. But I don't know if it's real. But
so we have a theory, working theory. We are not sure whether it's true or not, but so we normally experience food coma after lunch, so that's the baseline, right?
Yeah.
But now because the alertness is so high in the morning, that drop back to that normal baseline is so big that we're thinking,
it's
relative
worse
to where we were in the morning, it was so much worse. But yeah, other than that, it was quite good actually. So it's been over a month, but I still skip breakfast now, but I'm more lax about dinner time, so I don't have to eat by a certain time, and occasionally I eat supper also. So I think I would continue. I'm not sure about Zhao Yong.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to continue, but I think I
Oh, we failed today though. We ate breakfast.
We weakened like the past few days. So I'm planning to start again probably next week.
Like
and then,
strict
intermittent fasting.
Like 16-8.
Yeah.
I've yet to try the 5-2 though. I kept saying that I wanted to try the 5 days and then 2 days. So I think Viz was saying usually you can choose 2 days, not consecutive. So Monday or Thursday. Yeah. So I think I'm going to try that soon. But yeah, I've just been eating.
Dorothy planning to try anytime soon?
I have been trying. The thing is like my work schedule doesn't permit it. Like for the past 4 days I haven't eaten lunch.
So intermittent fasting in a way,
In a way, but because I know I'm going to skip lunch, which is not good, I'm scared I get gastric or something. I eat like a bun in the morning and that interrupts the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's a bit
the
tough
hours
for me.
like dinner to breakfast? Oh no, it's definitely not 8 hours.
Maybe 12. Maybe I hit the 12 thing, but like
I feel like some version of extreme calorie restriction.
It's so irregular. I don't know if it will work, but I did lose like 1 kg recently, but I don't know if it's just fluctuation or is it because I'm like skipping meals. But I don't feel any more mentally alert, but I always feel full. So maybe it's just because I never follow strictly. I'm so sad I cannot do it properly.
Okay, so besides intermittent fasting, one other thing that we talked about was calorie restriction, which sounds a bit complicated, but actually it just means to restrict the amount of calories that you take in. So I recently read this article that reported that calorie restriction was associated with increased response to chemotherapy in acute lymphoblastic leukemia. So basically, in layman's term, it's saying that caloric restriction was linked to better response to cancer treatment.
Which is great.
Yeah, acute lymphoblastic leukemia is actually the most common pediatric cancer. And these kinds of research is actually very important because improving the efficacy of the drug and the dose administered or without adding other drugs will actually limit the side effects. So sometimes people become non-responsive and the solution to that is they either add on other drugs or increase the dose. So if you can find a way to make it more effective, then actually it's much better for the patients because as we know, chemotherapy actually has a lot of other side effects. Yeah. So this short-term intervention is inexpensive and with careful planning is also easily available to patients.
Yeah.
So in this study, caloric and nutrient restriction was actually achieved by both diet and exercise. The cohort included both overweight or obese patients and lean patients. So whilst differences in fat gain with or without caloric restriction was only observed in the overweight and obese patients, this intervention was shown to reduce risk of detection of disease regardless of BMI group. While this study was recently published, there's actually a bulk of research looking into the link between caloric restriction and cancer. So current evidence suggests that intermittent caloric restriction, so not sustained, so occasional bouts of caloric restriction, has a greater anti-cancer effect in mouse models than chronic calorie restriction. Also because chronic or prolonged calorie restriction may not be suitable for cancer patients because they might lose weight from treatment and everything. So you want them to have enough nutrients for their body to receive the treatment and fight the disease. So it might not work. So researchers are actually also coming up with like mimicking diets, like fasting mimicking drugs or diets and caloric restriction mimetic drugs. So basically why I wanted to bring this up is because we were talking about intermittent fasting, but in normal people, I guess all we see is just better than the baseline. But actually what I wanted to bring up is that it could be very important in disease context.
I mean, it definitely opens a path for other drugs and other research groups to actually try calorie restriction or intermittent fasting and then looking at the effects on drugs and disease, I guess.
All in my mind was, this is so easy to implement. And it will serve like more benefits based on this study. Because just don't give me the food. If you're like, especially if you're a child, right? Because this is pediatric cancer they're talking about. I mean, maybe don't talk about like the teenagers, but like, if they're younger, you'll just be like, no, you can't buy food. I'm not giving you money. And then it's like, and it will work.
They also have to adhere to exercise though. So I think saying caloric restriction is a bit misleading. So they do have to adhere to an exercise regimen also. So I think that might also affect. So it's a very, very complex topic. So us talking about it very simplistically, actually there's so many layers to it as well. But it's just something that I found interesting this
Bottom
week.
line, diet and exercise. It's always diet
Good
and exercise.
for you.
Yes.
Yep. So speaking of these serious topics, I decided to look into a more goofy topic, which I have a vested interest in. So there's this study that was published that walking with a partner actually decreases walking speed, and holding hands further decreases walking speed. So you know, like how couples generally, when they walk on the pavement and they decide to hold hands and walk very slowly, and me who wanting to pass them can't
because
pass them
is single.
by choice, totally not due to my lack of a personality or my fear of commitment.
I would say you're over. How do you say it? Like not lack of personality. I think it's your over personality.
Lack of desirable personality traits.
Desirable is subjective, but okay, go on.
That's it. I also have a lot of issues with PDA. Basically, the absolute maximum is holding hands, and even holding hands has already been scientifically proven to be bad for health. So
okay, so for everyone who doesn't know, PDA is public displays of affection.
Yeah, right.
Which, I mean, holding hands is not
it's perfectly fine.
Bad,
right
because
now,
it doesn't have to be a couple. It can be a child and a parent. Is that PDA to you?
It is, right? It's still a form of public display of
I mean,
it's affection.
Okay,
if we are
yes.
very nature of the term
yes,
affection.
for sure. But I was gonna ask, is that acceptable level of PDA for you?
Is that acceptable?
Yeah,
holding hands is fine. Like I said, holding hands is fine. But right now I'm saying that it's scientifically proven to be bad for your health as well. Okay, so going into
what way, yes.
Yeah, so
Tell
going
me.
into why this group decided to study this is because actually
they are haters like you.
No, oh my goodness, Dorothy, open your mind. Anyway, the point is that they looked into this effect where partners actually increase walking activity. So basically, if you have a partner that's into exercise, you might actually get interested in exercise and all these things, which is great, right?
Yeah,
but
the opposite happens too.
Yeah, but they wanted to study whether that effect is great and whether or not that will be beneficial. So they noticed that, there's an increase of physical activity. However, this increase of physical activity is not necessarily clinically beneficial.
Because they walk slower.
Exactly. So usually, so they were initially hoping for an increase in effect. So basically, if a partner walks faster, the other partner would increase their pace to match the partner. But then what they observed was actually the opposite. So people actually slowed down, and this is not even slowing down to the slower partner's speed. It's slowing down to even slower than the original partner's speed. And even though the decrease in speed is 5 cm per second, which you think is not a lot, but it has been clinically proven that a decrease in 5 cm, or rather an increase in 5 cm is actually very clinically beneficial for health. So
brisk walking.
Yeah, so this decrease in 5 cm per second actually is clinically
5 cm
bad for health.
So in 60 seconds, it's 6 meters, isn't it?
Is it?
No, 5 times 60, right? I was like, what?
3 meters.
No, it's like half a meter, right? Wait,
It's
no,
300 meters, right?
It's
300 cm.
Our math is shit. Anyway.
300 cm, sorry.
Which is 3 meters.
Yeah, 3 meters.
Then I changed my...
Anywho's, yeah. So basically, it's still clinically relevant in a
Oh my
long-term
god,
setting.
0.3 meters. Not even 3.
Yeah, 300 cm.
Yes.
300 cm
No. It's 3 meters.
Oh, centi. Sorry. See, this is what happens when we record in the afternoons. If we had
are
recorded at
science
7,
brains, not
I would
maths
be
brains.
here right now. 0.3.
Going back to this study. Yeah, but so all these things actually show that it is true that couples walk slow, and this is not even related to age group. So it's throughout the entire span of age ranging from 25 to 79. So all age groups, there's a decrease in walking speed, but there is still a silver lining, which is the fact that whether or not there's an increase in physical activity in general is already beneficial and would cancel off this effect of slowing down. It's still not really studied, and that's what they are going into next. Yeah, so that's what's interesting to me, because I'm like, oh yeah, I do feel that when couples walk, it's actually slower, but now there's an actual study that proves that couples, when they walk, they are actually slower, and I'm not crazy.
And the conclusion is it's bad.
Yeah. As in, it's clinically bad, assuming that you are a person that tends to walk fast in general.
Based on what their outcome is, which is the speed of walking. But I guess if you talk about like company, if you are like hanging out with someone you like, or like it increases like your happy hormones, or like it makes you happier. So it might be Good for your health.
For the
So
listeners,
I'm
yeah,
convinced.
Zhao Yong's face is.
Your face was so scary.
I realize people won't be able to see this, but it was very amusing.
My
His
voice was
face.
trailing off.
Yeah. That's why Dorothy was trailing off, not because she lost her train of thought. It's because she glanced over at Zhao Yong and it
My
was
face of contempt and disgust.
oh my goodness.
Caution to the future girl that Zhao Yong dates.
Well, she would completely understand my point of view.
Better be a fast walker.
Doesn't matter. You will still reduce according to this study.
Or you
Is
better
that a
keep up the Yes, it's a challenge.
I can see you jogging around holding hands. You're like, it can be done. It can be done.
I want to be the abnormally in this. It can be done.
And if I show that it can be done, would y'all do it? Is my question.
No! You are the anomaly.
I was gonna say for sure. I didn't know the reactions were gonna be so different.
Yeah, and I guess moving on.
Moving on because I don't like.
Yep, haters gonna hate.
I like this topic. I like how we talked about it, but
Always bringing
I
in
don't
the
care. I'm just gonna
controversial.
hold my head, and if I walk with my husband
Yeah, just
in
don't
front
walk
of
in front of me.
I will
Just
slow
don't
down
walk
to
in
the
front of me.
slowest pace I could ever
And
take.
don't blame me if I try and separate y'all and just cut past.
Just walk on the grass.
yeah, and you walk.
Oh my goodness, no. I don't think that's fair, sorry. I can't believe I have to jump in. But no, how is that fair? There's a pavement just because you are...
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I
no,
would
you
be
shouldn't
annoyed
be
too
so
at
inconsiderate.
PDA
Yeah,
couples.
exactly. You would be annoyed too.
That's
So why
what I
should
get
Zhao
annoyed
Yong
by.
stand on
That's
the
what I
ground?
get
Give
annoyed
you
by.
1/3 of the walkway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
fine.
more than enough. That's more than. That's
then
great.
Then
That's
walk
great.
as slow as you want and like...
Please go ahead. Like if you're a considerate couple, oh yeah, no shade to the considerate couples. If you're a considerate couple, great.
He's just judging everyone else.
Yeah,
He's jealous, boy. Moving on.
maybe I am. I don't know. Anyway,
Let's talk about real life. I mean, what do you call it? Affairs of the state.
okay. Yeah.
Affairs of the state, yes.
I would guess that's a good introduction. Yeah.
So my topic that I found was that Singapore is now home to one of the world's largest floating solar farms. This is on Straits Times. And I thought this was quite interesting. I mean, it's sciencey for us. Basically, like now they have built this floating solar panel near like Woodlands, I think one of the Johor side. And this is able
Malaysia.
to like...
Sorry.
Oh yeah, so near to your house. Maybe you can
Malaysia.
see it from there. Maybe we can see it from here. Maybe you can jump.
Jump across the solar panels because it's one of the largest, right?
I like how Dorothy is saying as if Amanda isn't in Singapore right now. She's like over there in Johor and she can
Also, my house is not near to Johor, but okay.
But basically, it's quite interesting because it helps to offset a lot of like energy, and it it's good for the environment.
Okay.
They can produce like a lot of energy, and these are like there's a total of 13,000 over panels. So it's pretty big, like 7 football field size, and it produces an estimated of 6 million kilowatt hours of energy per year. And this can offset 4,000 over tons of carbon dioxide, bringing the country closer to decarbonization, which is kind of like what our country, Singapore, my country, is
It's fine, I
driving
live
towards.
here.
But anyway, so actually everything about this sounds very good because the idea, I mean, like apart from putting solar panels on rooftops, which now we're putting a lot of trees, this would be good because the sea or the waters are open. So I thought it was a brilliant idea, and it can trap a lot of, it can get a lot of sunlight and generate a lot of, and it's super hot in Singapore. So everything is good about it, and then there's going to be visitor center and viewing gallery as well, which is good for tourism. I guess. I just don't know how much energy that would use that's getting from the solar panels. But I had one question on it was thinking about it like from a scientific point of view, the solar panels are good, but what about the wildlife below the water? That is why I was interested in this topic, because if it's a huge 7 football field size of solar panels, how much sun is it blocking from the water, and
what's the environmental
and
impact?
will there be algae growing underneath? This is not what the Straits Times addressed on their article.
Actually, I'm not sure, but I know that Singapore actually conducts an environmental impact analysis for every project that it has to do. It's actually very well regulated. I mean, okay, from a foreigner's perspective, I always read when there's redevelopment or anything, there's always environmental impact analysis.
Yeah,
So,
I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
Whether or not they care in the end is still another thing, but
Yeah, whether
that's
the
not what
trade-off is worth it.
discuss.
I think is what they,
Because I mean, like if you talk about the amount of algae that might grow below, the amount of sun is blocking would affect the plants growing below the water as well, the temperature of
and
the
then
water.
the food chain as well.
But is that a bad thing? Because that is what is one of the main concerns of global warming, right? The heating up of the seawater, which is causing the glaciers to melt. So if you're actually removing, I guess, sunlight and in a sense thermal energy from actually heating up the waters, maybe it's actually beneficial. I don't know.
I have no idea. I have no answer to this, but to me, it's like, will the fishes migrate away from, like, let's say that was their home, and they're like, oh, there's no more sun, and so it's so cold.
But actually, the waters in Singapore are so murky and disgusting anyway. So would it
really are the waters near Johor? Please tell me.
I honestly,
well, the waters near Johor are the waters near Singapore. So
I know the waters at Sentosa are just brown. So,
but I guess some people do try to swim across the border. Maybe it's fine.
I have no idea.
But I mean, I do go fishing around.
Yeah.
And the water seems fine. It's quite clean.
Oh, is it clear?
Not clear, definitely, but it's not murky as you said.
Oh, it's not murky?
No, I don't think so.
I think not until it affects the visibility. Is what Dorothy is saying, right?
Yeah, but I'm just quite interested in this project and see how it pans out.
So I was also reading, as in previously I had to read up on biofuels for a particular mod that I was doing, and they were actually thinking about doing that as well, basically using tanks of algae, and you just put it in the ocean, similar to the solar farms, and then so in a sense it's more like a natural solar farm where the algae is extracting, solar energy from the sun, and then it's producing biofuel from there. And that was something that I think they were also looking into.
Wait, how do you extract the energy from the algae? Sorry, this is
no idea.
might be a very simple.
I think I can't really remember what they actually do to it.
Because you said biofuel, not solar energy.
Yeah.
Maybe
so
they burn the algae.
I have no idea. I can't remember.
To get fuel.
I can't remember if it's they burn the algae or they harvest the ethanol. I can't remember. I honestly can't remember how it produces fuel, but that's just one of the alternatives that is possible as well. Yeah.
Well, interesting.
I guess it wouldn't affect the biodiversity as much.
No
Would it?
idea.
The algae one.
Oh no, but the algae one is in tanks, so even then it's isolated from the.
Oh,
yeah. So
okay,
it wouldn't.
It wouldn't.
Yeah, it's just using the space. So in a sense, it's like the solar panels are synthetic versus algae, which would be
natural.
Supposedly more natural. I guess.
But I think solar energy is very untapped because the sun would be shining regardless of whether there's anything there to trap it. That's why it's such a favorable alternative energy source.
Yeah.
That a lot of people are looking into besides the usual wind and windmills. Yeah.
I mean, given the opportunity, I would definitely try to make my future home more.
Yeah.
And my.
Is it against the law?
I honestly have no idea. If you get
Because
private housing, I guess we must be very rich.
It's very important actually, the direction and the angle.
Yeah.
It's not just put a solar panel on the roof. Yeah. So actually there's a lot of things to take into consideration when you are trying to install solar panels, which is why it's not as cheap.
And it's not only that, you still need a suitable battery that can harvest and store the energy.
And use it after that.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's getting cheaper as technology improves.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Hopefully it reaches a state where even HDB's public housing, we
it
can
should.
get
If you think about it, if
solar
it's
panels.
regulated by the government, it would be an even easier implementation for clean energy in that sense.
For sure.
I just hope they make my electricity bills cheaper. Like, don't just install solar panels for the good of everyone, but like individually it should benefit me as well. In my house.
I mean, primary is to environment and then
Sure.
benefit us.
I need to
That's the
feel
thing,
it
but,
monetarily.
Sorry, the thing about solar panels is it's expensive to install and expensive to do all
Maintain,
the
is it?
But then in the long run it might offset. So but then in the end it could be the same because of your upfront costs. I don't know. That's what I've read about in other countries. So that's why I was saying if the government implements it, maybe. But maybe they will charge you more for something else. So.
Maybe we should just go to the viewing gallery when it's opens. I'm
Yes.
not sure if it's open. Then we can find out.
Field trip. Then we'll update.
Sure. Or if any of our listeners are actually experts in this industry and you want to come on
please
to
reach
talk.
out.
Yeah.
Self-invite yourself as a
I
guest.
really want to learn more about this.
Yeah. Or any of the topics that we have talked about today, I
Yeah,
guess.
of course.
Yeah. So as usual, follow us on Spotify and give us a subscribe on YouTube.
You can also follow us on our social medias, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
You can also DM us on our social media platforms or comment on our YouTube channel if you have any questions or if you want to reach out to us and tell us more about what you do, if it's something that we talked about, or even if it's not something we've talked about but you want people to learn about it.
Yeah.
Before I forget, you can also email us at thelabdoctors@gmail.com for all these matters.
Okay.
Great.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.